Hey guys, welcome back again. Yes, we are back in the office and we are working. So this is a really quick tutorial, a really fun one, and it's making bone beads. I like to make little toggles when I make like my macrame bracelets and stuff like that. I like to make my own toggles, and if it's an ethnic kind of style, I love making the bone beads. So these are colors that aren't really popular. It's good for sculptures and stuff like that, but this is the beige from Sculpey Premo. I never use this color because I don't do sculptures, but to make a bone bead, it's awesome. So I'm going to take 3 squares of the beige, and I'm going to take 3 squares of Sculpey Premo white, and we're going to mix them all together. So if you have equal amounts of each, you will get a nice ivory color, or beige. It depends how you want to look at it. It's a little darker than ivory, I think. Now, if you have Sculpey Souffle and you have it in the ivory, you can use that instead. I have not tried that yet, and I do have ivory. But I am just going to go ahead and put this through the pasta machine and blend it all up. It shouldn't take that long, so I won't pause. We are still hanging in here. My cold doesn't seem to be getting any better. It seems like it's getting a little worse. And I have Thanksgiving in 3 days. So I gotta kick this, whatever it is. With one of my sons, his mother-in-law is the one that is going through the multiple myeloma treatments, and I can't afford to get her sick. So I gotta get better. Okay. So this is basically what you got. It's kind of like a dirty beige. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but if you want to see it, you know, compared to the white, you should be able to see a big difference. Kind of got just like a little brown look to it. Now, if you want to go a little dirtier, which I do, I'm going to add a little bit of gold. And look at that, I've got gold on my table. So I'm going to just take a big chunk like that. I don't measure it. If you want to go a little less, you can, and then just go a little more and a little more until you get to the color that you want. Alright, so let's just mix this in there. I have my printers going on in the background, so if you hear any weird noise, I'm working on orders. You guys should see all the rollers I've got now. I think I've got something like maybe 30 different rollers up there, and I still have a ton to make. Alright, so there we go. So this kind of gives it the color of ecru. So honestly, I do have ecru right here. Ecru is a little bit more of a tan. So this is more, yeah, I'm going to call this like just a dirty ivory. So that's good enough. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to roll this at a number 1. And I don't need a lot of this. I'm just making a couple of things. Okay, I guess we can kind of mix it up a little better. Doesn't look like I did a great job there. Okay, I'm going to try and get 2 squares out of this. So, I have a small cutter. Okay. And I found some other beige over here the other day. Did I make it the same color? It's a little different and a little harder. This has been in my office for a long time. So I'm just going to do 3 because I don't need a big chunk of these. Yes, great cut job, right? Alrighty, so we got 3, and then we need translucent. And this is a white translucent. A regular translucent will be fine. It doesn't have to be white, it's just what was in my drawer. And I'm going to need 3 of these. Okay, and then we're just going to layer them. So I'm going to put the translucent on the bottom and try and get them matched up. You know me, how I'm not really careful. But on this one, I'm saying be careful, because it'll help you in the end. And that's going to make a nice block right there. Okay, so to recap, we took equal amounts of beige and white, mixed them together, cut them out in little squares, add a little bit of gold if you want it to be a little more dirty. And then cut up squares of translucent. All of these are at a 0, or your thickest setting, so they all match up perfectly. Okay, and then just stack them on top, alternating between the 2 colors, which is translucent and the dirty beige. And then you're just going to stretch them out. Really gentle. Don't go crazy, because then you'll get some that's longer, some that's not, and you want all of this to kind of match up. Okay, and then when you get to a nice size, you're going to cut this in half anyways. Okay, so we're going to cut it in half. Yeah, I'm going to try and be even. You know me. I got a good eye until I have a blade in my hand. I can't seem to cut anything straight. So we're going to go just about right there. That should be okay. Okay, so there you go. You got your little chunks. Okay, now you're going to stack those right back on top of each other. And yes, try and do it so that they match up. It makes it a lot easier. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing again. And you're going to keep doing it until you get your desired thickness. But you don't want to go too much to where you blur the lines so much that you're not going to distinguish between the translucent and the beige. Okay, I'm going to probably just do it one more time, because I want my lines to be a lot thinner. So I'm not even going to measure. I'm going to hopefully use my eyes. Okay, so this is going to be our final time, I think. Let's see how small we can make this. And I mean, that's pretty much it to make a bone bead. Pretty simple technique, efficient. Okay, so now I need some straight edges. And this is what I'm talking about how you need to be careful. Because if you're like me, you know, you're going to get all kinds of weird designs in them. And I don't like this blade. Let me grab another one. This one's dirty, but it's sharp. Alright. So that is basically it. You see how thin the lines are, but you can still see the translucent in between. That's exactly what you want. Okay, so I could either cut it in half and put it on top, but I'm not. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I want to make is a little toggle clasp. So I'm just going to cut about 4 of these. Okay. Yeah, I may have cut that one a little too thin, but I want it thin because it's going to wrap around a tube, basically. And this is going to be the main toggle. So I'm just going to grab some of this scrap beads that I've got. And what we want is just a little tube. I mean, even this alone is pretty cool. It would make a really, really cool bead just like that. Okay, and then we're just going to wrap this. And I'm going to go a little bigger than the actual bead. That way I can pinch the ends right there. And I'll show you what we'll do with our scraps afterwards. Okay, so basically, and it's going to crack like that if you don't condition it good enough. Okay, and you can just take this and just squeeze your ends just to cover the inside. Okay. So I'm condensing it, getting it really nice and conditioned. And let's see if I have a little, I've got my little acrylic block here just to make sure it's even. Okay. And this is a little bigger than I probably want, so I may have to cut off a little bit on the ends. But I just put my fingers on both ends like this, and I press down. And that's going to give you like this little barrel. And it's big, and I don't want the toggle to be that big, so I'm going to cut a little off, and yeah, there goes the dogs. You knew that was going to happen. They're still working on our fiber optics. And they're back on our street today, so the trucks are parked right in front of the house. They've been out there for an hour. Why Bandit decided to get set off now, I don't know. Okay. So basically, that's my toggle right there. Okay, you come in here and just clean up your edges. Every time you roll it, it's going to sink that inside in. So then you got to come out and fix these. Okay. So there we go. Now we have a nice little toggle. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take your little ball tool. And I just like putting little lines in there. Just to give it like a worn look, I guess. Doesn't matter where you put them. You could even take lines. You could even take your blade and just stick some lines in there. Okay, and the reason I did that was now I can go ahead and put this in the oven, and when it comes out, I will cover it with like an umber, an acrylic paint, and wipe it off, and that way it'll leave all the paint in the indentations in there, and you'll get a really nice weathered look. Another thing I like to make with the bone beads is, obviously, that's one way of making a clasp. This is another way, and all this is making a button. And you could make them with holes in the middle, or you can make it as a shank button. I like using the shank buttons and then using seed beads on the other side in order for them to close up. So I want this pretty even. And I really think I got it measured out okay. Oh, maybe not. A little bit right there. And that's what we want to get off. We want this to be perfectly even. Okay, and then I'll usually come in here and just kind of push it against the center. And that way it cleans off the edges so you don't get anything sticking to the sides. Okay, and then you're going to pull this out. And look at that. Get this little nice sunflower. You really can't see the bone in there, but it's okay. Okay, so the other thing you're going to do is you're going to roll a log. Not too thin, but not too thick, because this is going to be your shank. So that should be okay. And then I'm going to grab my handy dandy tool here. You can use a pen, you can use the bottom of a something like this. You can use a toothpick. Okay, so basically I just wrap it around that. And I'm going to get some Bacon Bond. And I'm just going to put that right in the center, or as close as I can in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to try and line this up in the center. Take it about right there, looks good. And I'm just going to wiggle it back and forth. Okay, so you're basically going to blend it in there. Okay, so there's your shank. Now that's kind of a big shank, so I'll make another one and make it a little smaller. But now you've got a button. So on this one, again, I'll throw it in the oven, and then when it comes out, I'm going to put brown paint around it and then wipe it off. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the oven. That in the oven. Let's try one more flower. Let's see. These are from tinypandora.com. She's got some great molds, very inexpensive, and they're really, really fun. You know what? I'm going to do this funky one right there. This really heavy-duty one. Yeah, it's not a real clean mold, sorry. Alright, so this we're just going to put it in there. The only problem is if it sticks to your hands, you can wear gloves, or you can try and push this in with some deli paper over it, and that way hopefully it doesn't come out. I don't put water in my molds. I know some people do, but to me it doesn't stick if I do that, and then it's constantly popping out. So again, get it as flat as you can. Okay. And then you're just going to move everything away from the edges. And that just cleans everything up really nice. Okay, I'm going to pull that one out. So there's another interesting flower, right? Couldn't figure out what to do with these. You know, they're a lot bigger than being able to put them on a, you know, a pair of earrings like that or something, and thicker. And these just seem to work out really well. So I'm going to go a little thinner. Not quite so big. Oh, nice catch, right? Okay. So this is going to be a smaller shank. Grab some Bacon Bond. You can use liquid Sculpey or Bacon Bond. But this stuff is so sticky it won't stick to my hands. Okay. So now again, find that center. And then just kind of wiggle it back and forth a little bit. And it should just sit there. Okay, and then you're just going to kind of blend it all in. Gotta be really careful with handling it so you don't ruin the other side. So it's the only tough part about this. Okay, and you can also take a little bit of the bacon bond if you want to make it extremely strong, and just put it on the edges on the outside as well. When it comes out, I will probably put a dab of resin next to it, and that should keep it from coming off. But I have never had a problem with these coming off yet. So that's a little smaller shank. You know, if you want to manipulate it a little bit, you can. There we go. There's our 2 flowers. So we're going to go ahead and throw these in the oven, and we'll come back and show you how they turn out. So we'll be back soon. Alrighty guys, so we are back. We just pulled these out of the oven, and now we're going to put the finishing touches on them. And you know what I did yesterday? I put paint on a paintbrush and I didn't clean the paintbrush, so it's hard as a rock. I don't know what it is with me that I forget doing stuff like that, but I do. So what we're doing is we're just putting paint. We're trying to get it all in the little cracks and crevices. And your hands are going to get dirty, so you might want to wear gloves when you do this. So I'm going to do the whole thing. And yes, it's a hard paintbrush, so it's not going on as well as I would like it. Okay, so there's one. This is just going to give it like an antique look to it. Or an aged look, if it's a better term to use. So just a tad bit more. Okay. And don't do too many at a time or the paint will dry. I figured 3 wouldn't be too much to worry about it. Let me just grab some water here. So I'm just using a paper towel. And now I'm just going to wipe off the excess here. I don't know how well you can see this. Okay, and then we'll just stick it back in the oven for another ½ hour. So I just put them in for a ½ hour, put the paint on, and then put them on for the rest of the hour. I didn't do an hour on these. Trying to get some that just kind of got in the middle there. You don't want too much water, so you don't want it really soppy wet, because then it'll just make it all runny and it'll all come off. Okay, there's 2. Now I might wipe a little more. And this is that 3rd one. This one dried a little faster than the flowers did. Okay, so basically, let me get a little bit more of this off right here. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but I'm going to get just a little more off. All right, now let me put these up and I'll show them to you. Okay, so basically, you have our little bone beads. And they kind of look aged. Okay, and then what I'll do on this one is I'm just going to drill a hole right down the center. And it's going to be a leather cord. So I'll put the leather cord right there and I'll knot it right there. So you don't have to go that big. I made a couple last night. Let me show you those. And these have already gone through the oven process and all that. So there's another one. That's a little smaller than the one I did today, but a little wider as well. And you can make them on regular buttons too. Instead of a shank button, you can just make it a regular button. I have one more. I don't know what I did with it. But that's basically it. So again, we'll throw these two in the oven and this one and put it in there for about another half hour. And when I finally make the project, I will let you know how they turn out. So we'll talk to you later, guys. Again, it's still before Thanksgiving, so I'm going to remind you to have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you probably this weekend sometime. Take care.